A lot of the days, like every day, there's pizza, and then there's also going to be some other thing. Sometimes the other thing isn't really that good.
Everything is set up for us not to, to be convenient and fast, and that doesn't always mean healthy. So the easier the systems can make it so that we have healthier choices, the better.
Now, a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association showed about 67% of American children and their diet is made up of ultra-processed foods.
A disturbing discovery inside a San Francisco home. What police say about an entire family found dead and how neighbors reeling from the news describe those who died. In Oakland, a turning point with public safety concerns front and center for city leaders and residents. Look at what's ahead in the search for a new police chief now that Floyd Mitchell has announced his resignation. Then,
for years they talked about peace in the Middle East. This is more than Gaza. This is peace in the Middle East.
the latest on a deal between Hamas and Israel to end the 2-year war. The conditions of a peace plan expected to be signed today.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Gassia Mikhaelian.
And good morning, I'm Dave Clark. Thursday morning, October 9th. I know you felt the coolness outside.
Definitely, and I actually don't mind it.
Okay. See, Steve, you made her happy already.
Can't make it. It's either warm. Give me warm weather. Now the cool is good.
No, I'm happy with both. This whole week has been good.
Yeah.
It is. Didn't we have 90s 2 days ago?
We did.
I know. Now look here. And looking under mostly clear skies. Right there. Look at that. Mostly clear. We do have a lot of low clouds north, but there's a lot of clearing here. This is a lot of a low cloud deck here. So 50s, 60s, clouds clear, aggressive drizzle, light rain north. Clouds and sun and clouds breezy. It's going to stay in the 60s and 70s. Had some really light rain moving through to the north. There's not a lot there, but there's a little bit, and that's really the only line. Marin County up to about Glen Ellen, maybe Yountville, but there's not. The higher and mid-level clouds are offshore. That will bring the real rain in right there. That'll be on Friday into early Saturday. Deep system, even stronger ones, going to arrive on Tuesday. This will be a good snowmaker in the mountains and give us pretty good rainfall, but that won't be until Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday. The system coming in tomorrow will generate some pretty good rain North Bay, but far less to the east and also the south. So it's a cool change, that's for sure. And we do have some a lot of low clouds north, drizzle, light rain, but it's a mix of sun and clouds, breezy to windy, and temperatures 60s and 70s. Well, when it comes to the morning commute, you don't want to be that lonesome loser, do you?
No, but I'm reminiscing about back when we were young. We were both, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
A lot of reminiscing when we were young.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning. Let's go out and take a look at the Bay Bridge. It is backed up all the way out to the maze. Metering lights are on. You can see that this traffic is typical. I don't see anything unusual about it. And if you drive this way every day, you probably don't want any surprises. The San Mateo Bridge is also getting more crowded, heading out to the high rise. And if you are driving in San Jose, you can tell that now after 7 o'clock, things are getting more crowded. I still say you should get on the road sooner rather than later because this tends to fill up rather quickly. 7:02. Let's go back to the desk.
Thank you, Sal. People living in one San Francisco neighborhood are reeling on the news that 4 members of one family are dead in what sources are telling KTVU is a possible murder-suicide. Let's go to KTVU's Aaron Dickens live in the city with more. Aaron.
Garcia, just in the last minute or so, there was a neighbor that brought flowers to the doorstep of that home. You can see those purple flowers right by the door up there. And the big question is, who lived at the home? Well, neighbors tell us a couple and 2 kids lived there, but police have not confirmed that. We are on Monterey Boulevard, right near City College. The lights are on at the home, but you could see the scene is now clear. Authorities say 4 bodies were found in the home. Sources tell us the incident is being investigated as a possible murder-suicide. Police got that 911 call yesterday afternoon. This was a welfare check. After police arrived at the scene, it turned into a suspicious death investigation. Authorities have not confirmed the ages of the family members, and it is still unclear how they died.
At this time, the evidence is pointing toward a criminal case. This appears to be a criminal action. This neighborhood rarely sees any type of activity close to this.
And this has also been tough for the firefighters. They were the first to arrive on scene.
Our fire department paramedics made entry into the building. They made a determination where they had 4 persons that are deceased. Anytime you have more than 1 person deceased, it's very challenging, it's hard. And we do have those support services available for our firefighters, for them to talk to, for them to work through this type of incident.
Back out here on Monterey Boulevard, you can see those flowers that a neighbor literally just left on the doorstep just in the last 5 minutes or so. So a lot of questions this morning unanswered, and we have reached out to the SF Police Department. We are waiting to hear back about more information on this case. Aaron Dickens, KTVU Fox 2 News. Garcia, let's go back to you.
Aaron, thank you.
All right, time is now 7:05. Well, after just 18 months on the job, Oakland Police Chief Floyd Mitchell says he intends to leave the Oakland Police in December. The chief's decision is prompting a wide reaction around Oakland about the implications for public safety and a police department that's been challenged with stability problems for years.
We can't keep living like this. We're angry. And it's not fair to the businesses. It's not fair to the voters.
Oakland is a very complex city. It's more complex than I think people believe, and I think there's even Chief Mitchell, maybe when he came in, didn't realize how complex it was with all the different bosses, all the different needs and desires.
But you cannot put politics every single day without giving him the ability to do his work. And basically, the chief is basically being handcuffed.
Now, the police chief didn't say why he's leaving the Oakland Police Department. His resignation comes as the latest police data shows crime in Oakland is going down. But staffing is still a big problem. The police department is down about hundreds of sworn officers. The police union says the turnover is another sign of dysfunction in Oakland, while critics say it's time for a change.
We like Chief Mitchell. He's definitely an honest person. Extremely honest, and I don't think the city of Oakland would prepare for that.
I'm not surprised that he has resigned when he did. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did. I never got the impression that he was a good fit for the city of Oakland. He didn't seem to appreciate the various dimensions of the city.
Now, Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee thanked Chief Mitchell for his dedicated service, saying she was grateful for his focus on community-centered policing. The Police Commission will now start searching for a new police chief. Now, Chief Mitchell's departure is just the latest chapter in the Oakland Police Department's unstable history. The city will now have 11 different police chiefs in only the last 10 years. Chief Mitchell was hired to replace LeRon Armstrong after his controversial firing in 2023 by the recalled mayor, Shang Tao. Armstrong succeeded the interim chief Susan Mannheimer and the acting chief Darren Allison. Both of them served briefly following the firing of former chief Ann Kirkpatrick in 2020. She was Oakland's first female police chief and later won a lawsuit for wrongful termination. Now, we spoke with Jane Kirkpatrick, who now is the superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department, and she did not mince words when talking about her experience with Oakland leadership.
Everybody screams and yells and hollers. It's probably the most dysfunctional kind of leadership there that I've ever been experienced to, and yet the police department is fabulous and the city is fabulous. What I say to everybody is that anticipate being fired and don't go unless you can afford to be fired.
Now, the Oakland Police Department remains under federal oversight, as it has been for more than 20 years because of past abuse cases. Some say the instability, including at the job of police chief, has prevented the department from getting out from federal oversight.
New this morning, a man in Hayward is facing charges of attempted murder after a shootout with police. Hayward officers responded to a report of an armed man near Industrial Parkway and Mission Boulevard yesterday afternoon. Police say 40-year-old Jaime Lopez immediately pulled out a gun. There was a shootout between police and Lopez. While no one was hit, Lopez suffered a thumb injury. Officers say he lives in Hayward and is unhoused. He was treated at a hospital, then arrested. A former San Jose assistant fire chief is accusing the department of unlawful termination and age discrimination. 57-year-old James Williams filed a claim against the city in a first step toward a possible lawsuit if an agreement can't be reached. Williams has worked in several local fire departments in his 38-year career. His lawyer told the Mercury News that city leaders tried to end the career of a highly qualified and respected black fire executive just weeks before he was eligible to retire. Williams says he was called a dinosaur. San Jose Fire Chief Robert Sapien, in a brief response, said this complaint came as unexpected news.
Our time now, 7:09, a breakthrough in the war between Israel and Hamas. President Trump says the two sides have agreed to the first phase of his ceasefire plan. KTVU's James Torres in the studio with us now with details. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Dave. Well, Israeli leadership is meeting as we speak to vote on that agreement. President Trump announcing the deal yesterday. This is just the first phase of the deal, focusing on the swift exchange of hostages for prisoners. It calls for the immediate release of all Israeli hostages in exchange for Palestinians jailed in Israel. That must happen within the first 72 hours after the deal is approved. It also calls for the restoration of humanitarian aid and the withdrawal of Israeli troops. Later phases of negotiations will involve discussing who will rule post-war Gaza and establishing a process to disarm Hamas.
I think you're going to see people getting along, and you'll see Gaza being rebuilt. We think they'll all be coming back on Monday. I spoke to Bibi Netanyahu just a little while ago. He called. He said, "I can't believe it."
Just held in Gaza thanked President Trump for securing the agreement. These families were in Washington, D.C. this week, marking 2 years of war between Israel and Hamas.
This is amazing. Mr. President, we believe in you. We know you've done so much for us over the past, since you became a president, and even before that. And we trust you'll fulfill the mission until every hostage, every 48 of the hostages are home. Thank you so much.
The president says Hamas will release 20 Israeli hostages by Monday. It will also return the bodies of nearly 30 deceased hostages. Israel's prime minister is expected to officially sign off on the agreement today. A ceasefire will then take effect 24 hours afterwards. And just a short time ago, U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner met with Egypt's president after brokering that Gaza ceasefire deal. Dave.
All right, James, thank you. Time now, 7:11. More jobs and more public events are being cut because of the government shutdown. We'll tell you why one agency just lost half of its workforce. And now this could affect people who still have not paid taxes this year.
The Nobel Prize Committee announced its selection for this year's recipient for the Nobel Prize in Literature. Why his work will live on beyond the printed page.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes, your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Here are some of this morning's top stories at 7:15. Sources tell KTVU San Francisco police are investigating a possible murder-suicide after the bodies of 4 family members were found in a home near City College. Officers were called to the home yesterday afternoon for a medical welfare check. Neighbors say a couple lived there with their 2 young children. Federal authorities say a Florida man is under arrest for starting the Palisades fire at the beginning of the year. Jonathan Rinderknecht is facing federal charges of setting a fire New Year's Day. Firefighters put that fire out, but investigators say it smoldered underground for 6 days, then reignited to what was then called the Palisades fire. It killed 12 people and burned thousands of homes.
Well, just hours ago this morning, the Nobel Prize Committee announced this year's recipient for the award in literature is going to 71-year-old Laszlo Krasznahorkai. He's a writer from Hungary. He's credited for being both compelling and a visionary. Several of his works have been turned into movies. One member of the Nobel Award Committee says his writing is often shatteringly beautiful.
As the government shutdown enters its 9th day, the IRS announced it's furloughing more than 34,000 employees, nearly half the agency's workforce. This comes just days before the tax filing deadline for people who filed extensions. The IRS says document processing and refunds will be slower. On Capitol Hill, the Senate failed to pass a measure to fund the government for the 6th time yesterday. Federal workers say they're growing increasingly frustrated.
We've been held hostage. We've been treated as political punching bags. We've been the ones who have been forced to bear the brunt of a lot of these things.
Missing one paycheck, I'm prepared for that. My hope is that this is a temporary fight.
The first paychecks to be issued without a full 2 weeks of pay could go out tomorrow. Then October 15th, active duty military and reserves may miss their first full paycheck.
Time now 7:17. The U.S. Navy's making it official. The Blue Angels will not fly for Fleet Week, and there'll be no parade of naval ships on San Francisco Bay. Instead, only sailors from Canada and Colombia will be visiting, and the Royal Canadian Air Force are sending the Snowbirds to fly in place of the Blue Angels. Now, while events are going to look different this year, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie says the spirit of Fleet Week is still strong.
I don't care about whether or not we have a government shutdown or not. I want us to honor our armed forces and our pilots. Let's support our businesses, and let's go San Francisco. Thank you.
Now, Fleet Week will also be a celebration of the U.S. Navy's 250th anniversary.
Let's get out the door here, 7:18. We had some problems early on this Thursday, right, Sal?
Yeah, we did have some problems, although we have fewer problems this morning than we did a couple of days ago. So this Thursday is better. Yesterday was kind of a moderate day. Let's start in the East Bay, Highway 4 westbound. Slow traffic as usual as you drive toward the Concord area. And in Concord, it's slow on 242 and 680. Again, that's not unusual. This is a live look at Highway 24 and then the Bay Bridge. Those are backed up as you might expect. San Mateo Bridge, don't like what I see here. It looks like something is happening. You can tell if you look on the left, no one is getting by some sort of slow-moving vehicle coming towards us. So we're going to investigate here. Could be that CHP was running a traffic brake there, but I can see that traffic is slow as you head west. So we're going to keep an eye on that for you. 7:19. Let's bring Steve back with today's weather.
Sal, thank you, sir. We'll take a look at some of the light rain drizzle that we've had last 24 hours. Mount Tamalpais, no surprise there. 13/100s, Woodacre 12, Sonoma 0.04, Mill Valley and Novato 0.03, and Santa Rosa with a 0.02. There has been a line that's what they call training a little bit from Marin County up to about Napa County. And that's the line right there. It's all low level, but it still adds up a little bit. And back over towards Marin County, which is adding to that. Bolinas, Mount Tamalpais, Woodacre in there as well, San Rafael, Mill Valley, and also Novato picking up a couple 100s here. But you go to the infrared satellite and there's nothing there. Why is that? Because it's all low level. It's below the radar beam. So we're waiting on the main system, which will be here on Friday. 50s, 60s on the temps here. 30s and 40s up in the mountains. Tahoe's been bouncing between 30s, 40s, and 50s. Must be a breeze. I'll have to look. That's a deep low for this time of year off of Seattle and Portland. We're waiting for that system back there to move through. This will be the system right here that we're waiting. That'll be for Friday right there. But this is just a baby compared to the one that's on the way for late Monday into early Tuesday is the way it's looking here. So drizzle, light rain, mainly north. Otherwise, it'll be a mix of sun, low clouds, breezy, and definitely on the cool side with 60s and 70s for the temps. Tomorrow's system will have a much better punch than what we're seeing this morning. That could leave 16 100s for San Rafael, Napa, 1/10 of an inch, Santa Rosa, a quarter, which would be a third plus for the Russian River. But it's next week that this looks like a first really good system of the season. That would be big time rain for us this time of year, and there's a lot of signs of some pretty significant mountain snow. For the next couple of days, though, Southern California desert and no doubt Arizona into New Mexico, the remains of Hurricane Priscilla is going to paint some really heavy rain totals, especially around Tucson is the way it's looking. So any travel plans there, get a heads up because there could be some big time flood issues. It's a cool change for us. Low clouds, drizzle, light rain north. Otherwise, there's some clearing already. Mix of sun clouds, but not very warm. 60s and 70s on the temps. The weekend looks okay after Saturday morning. We'll get a little bit of a break. That next system, though, looks like a pretty strong one Monday night, Tuesday.
Thank you, Steve. Well, they are married to a couple of Niners Pro Bowlers. Starting today, the wives are taking center stage. We'll preview the YouTube series Wifed Up, Mic'd Up.
And Domino's Pizza getting a makeover. We'll show you the new look and the sounds of its new promotional campaign.
$724, beautiful pastels in that pretty city down below.
Nice.
Looks like a painting, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, it's Mother Nature and Father Time doing their thing. A gorgeous look outside. 724, we are feeling the change Steve Paulson's been telling us about all week long. A dramatic difference from where we were on Monday. And the changes continue, though not quite so extreme, well into the weekend. 724 again here. Domino's Pizza updating its brand. The company's rolling out a new promotional campaign called Hungry for More. Features a more modern color scheme, bolder typeface and graphics, and a new jingle. I am a sucker for a jingle. Can I tell you?
Me too.
Okay, good.
Me too.
In the coming months here, Domino's will upgrade its app, its packaging, its in-store graphics, worker uniforms. Company says it won't make the mistake that Cracker Barrel did in overhauling its brand and logo completely.
All right, our time is 7:25. Hockey is back tonight, and the San Jose Sharks will host the Las Vegas Golden Knights in the Sharks' first regular season home game. Now, the game starts at 7 p.m. This year, the Sharks don't have one main captain. They'll have 5 alternate captains, including the young superstar Macklin Celebrini. Before the game, Ticketmaster is hosting a pregame festival. It begins at 4 p.m. on Barack Obama Boulevard. There'll be food, entertainment, and a ceremony to unveil the renaming of St. John Street to Sharks Way.
Today, 2 NFL wives are launching a new show on YouTube, giving fans a look inside their lives and the San Francisco 49ers season. The first episode of Wifed Up, Mic'd Up debuts later today, featuring Clara Kittle and Kristen Juszczyk, wives of tight end George Kittle and fullback Kyle Juszczyk. The two will share what it's like to travel with the team and give an inside look at their tailgates and more. They say the ultimate cap to the show here would be a Super Bowl episode at Levi's if the Niners make it to the big game. 7:26, a power play is in the works here. A new leverage for China as President Xi readies for trade talks with President Trump, and why Beijing's rare earth minerals are key for the United States.
My parents, they decided that they wanted to give me and my sisters a better life, so they came here.
A daughter pleading for the release of her father from an immigration detention center, how the resident of Vallejo ended up being detained by federal agents, and the reminder from experts about what to do when you encounter ICE agents. And Israel and Hamas agreed on first steps towards ending the war in Gaza, and a hostage exchange is expected this weekend. We'll bring you live expert analysis on the questions that remain over disarming Hamas and the future governance of Gaza.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Welcome back to Mornings on 2. I'm Dave Clark.
I'm Gassia Mikaelian. It's Thursday, October 9th. This is get outside and do stuff weather.
Sounds like it.
Steve Paulson, we can't use the heat as an excuse anymore.
Yes, there's a couple forecasts here today. This one you'll see right here looks pretty good, and that means there's not much in the way of cloud cover. We're getting some clearing. Other areas, especially about Marin County up into Sonoma County, and Napa's had some light rain, drizzle this morning. But 50s, 60s on the temps here. Livermore clear, 52. But there's a lot of cloud cover to the north. Mount Tamalpais and Woodacre over 1/10 of an inch. Sonoma and Mount Veeder 0.04. Novato 0.03 and Santa Rosa 0.02. From that little band that's been moving through this morning. Marin County slicing through Nevada. Looks like it's about done, but there could be a little bit more here. But that's just low-level moisture. It still counts, but the main system is right there. And that's going to bring in better rain for tomorrow, late tonight, tomorrow. And then a really cold system looks to be on track for Monday night, Tuesday. Could be a big-time rain totals and mountain snow by the time we get to early next week. Tomorrow, though, I would say Marin County North looks to be pretty good there for maybe 1/10 of an inch to upwards of 1/4 or 1/3. It's a cool change today. That's for sure. Low clouds, drizzle, light rain, mainly north. Otherwise, there's some clearing in there, so a mix of sun clouds. It'll be breezy to windy at times, 60s and 70s. Well, when it comes to the morning commute, just take it easy on me. San Mateo Bridge.
San Mateo and Bay Bridge are busy, Steve, and I will try and take it easy. The Bay Bridge is backed up all the way out to the MacArthur Maze, and the metering lights are on here at the Bay Bridge. So that's typical. Now, the San Mateo Bridge is something else. We did have a crash on 92 in San Mateo at 101, and that has affected the bridge. Now, the crash has been moved out of the way. It's on the shoulder, but it's still slow across the bridge. You can see the traffic is slow. So this is your commute, expected to be a little longer this morning, by at least 20 minutes. 7:32, let's get back to the headlines.
Thank you, Sal. The city of Oakland is again beginning the search for a new police chief after the current chief, Floyd Mitchell, announced he's leaving the department in December.
Now, KTVU's Ali Rasmus is in Oakland now with reaction from city leaders and community members and who they'd like to see as the next candidate for police chief. Good morning, Ali.
Good morning, Dave and Gassia. Yeah, Oakland Police Chief Floyd Mitchell says he will resign on December 5th, but he'll be around for the next several weeks to help with the transition to find an interim police chief. Mitchell did not give a specific reason he is leaving the department, but said in an email to staff, OPD staff yesterday, quote, "Deciding to resign was not an easy decision, nor was it made in haste. Even as I pen this email to each of you, I am filled with a complex mix of emotions, gratitude, pride, and above all, a deep appreciation for the work you all do." Mitchell started the job in May of 2024, appointed by the previous mayor, Sheng Tao, just a few months before she was recalled. His resignation comes as police data shows crime in Oakland is down compared to last year, but the department is dealing with ongoing challenges of a reduced police force, cuts in the city's budget, and OPD has also been under federal oversight now for more than 20 years. Mitchell is the 11th police chief in the city of Oakland for the past 12 years. Community leaders say they're frustrated with the constant turnover.
We can't keep living like this. We're angry. And it's not fair to the businesses. It's not fair to the voters.
I think it's at the end of the day, the chief is leaving on his own term. And like I said, I would reflect that the challenge is the working condition in this place that make it very difficult to be a chief or a police officer.
Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee thanked Mitchell for his dedicated service, saying she was grateful for his focus on community-centered policing. At least one city council member, Charlene Wang, told KTVU that she hopes the next police chief of Oakland will be an internal candidate. Mitchell's previous job had been as police chief in Lubbock, Texas. Finding a new permanent chief in Oakland, though, can't happen overnight. According to the specific rules in the city's charter, there's a very complicated process to find a new police chief. The Oakland Police Commission then has to interview and vet and come up with a list of candidates, 3 candidates, and then turn that list over to the Oakland mayor, who then has to choose from that specific list or ask the commission to go back and find a new slate of candidates. The last time the city of Oakland went through this process, it took more than a year to find a permanent police chief. Live in Oakland, Allie Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Allie, thank you. 7:35 right now, Israeli leaders voting to approve the first phase of the ceasefire plan in Gaza. The plan will allow for the release of all hostages held by Hamas in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. It also calls for more humanitarian aid and the withdrawal of Israeli troops. Let's look ahead at what could come next by welcoming Anel Shiline, a research fellow at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, a 72-hour period for releasing hostages will begin once the ceasefire is in effect. The deal is expected to free the remaining 48 hostages held in Gaza in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. What is your reaction to this news? Are you with us, Anel? I think we may be having some audio problems. I'll try one more time. Are you able to hear us, Anel Shiline?
Clearly.
Oops, I'm sorry. Technical difficulties. We'll work to fix them, and it looks like we'll have to try to come back to her again. The major news this morning is that Israeli leaders are voting to approve the first phase of the ceasefire plan in Gaza. The president says he is willing to travel to the Middle East to see the signing happen and to see it through. All right, let's focus here on what's happening in Vallejo, as there is uncertainty this morning for one family after a father was arrested by immigration agents while returning home from a job site in Bay Point. Anahi Aguiniga says her father, Victor Aguiniga Gomez, drove to Bay Point Saturday to see a potential client. Before going in the home, she says he noticed what he thought was a suspicious car outside. When he was driving home, she says he was pulled over by someone in an unmarked vehicle.
I just remember my dad saying they ID'd him, and then I guess they just took him into custody. Because, I mean, my dad didn't really ask any questions, you know, he's scared.
Aguiniga says her father does not have a criminal record. In a statement, an ICE spokesperson said the man entered the country illegally 20 years ago and was arrested during a targeted enforcement action in Bay Point, and that he will remain in immigration custody. His daughter says after being held in a San Francisco immigration center, he's been transferred to Bakersfield.
My dad, or people like my dad, are not criminals. They're really just good people trying to come here and make, you know, live the American dream, have a better life. And I don't think that they should be punished for that.
While Aguiniga waits to learn what's next for her father, immigrant rights advocates are continuing their work in telling people what to do when encountering federal agents.
The most important part is to remain silent. We have red cards that many of our community members throughout the Bay Area can use if there's a language issue and they may not speak this English. They can actually hold up their Know Your Rights card so that they don't have to immediately divulge information that could possibly lead to an arrest or even deportation.
Immigrants' rights groups urge those who need help to call them. The Bay Area has several hotlines covering Alameda, Marin, San Francisco, and Santa Clara counties.
Our time is now 7:38. Well, a spotlight is on the Pentagon this morning after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered a huge hunt for critics of the slain conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Now, that has triggered almost 300 investigations throughout the military and civilian staff. Officials say more than 100 service members have already been targeted for comments that were made after the death of Charlie Kirk. Critics argue this heavy-handed pursuit of disciplinary action over political speech is an inappropriate politicization of the military.
China's putting new limits on the export of rare earth minerals needed for computer chips and defense technology. The new policy comes just weeks before President Trump is set to meet with the Chinese leader. China dominates global mining and processing of rare earths, which are a group of metals used in laptops, fighter jets, and medical equipment.
Time is 7:39, and we still have slow traffic on that San Mateo Bridge. This is because of an earlier crash we had in San Mateo at 92-101. It finally is getting a little better, but don't expect your commute on the San Mateo Bridge to be normal. This is, however, a normal commute at the Bay Bridge. It's backed up from beyond the maze and the metering lights are on. If you're driving on Highway 24, it looks okay, but Highway 4 is still slow, and so is 680 from Concord to Walnut Creek. Now it's time for today's weather. A cool change, says Steve.
Are you reminiscing again, Sal?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Thank you, sir. 50s, 60s on the temps. Here, there are some areas that are clear. Others have a mix of low clouds, and some have drizzle, light rain. Just depends on where you are. Most of it's been north, though. 39 Reno, 30s and 40s, Truckee and South Lake Tahoe. That's a nice looking low off of the Seattle, Portland area for this time of year, and swinging in on the backside of that. That'll be the system that comes in. A lot of low-level moisture over us this morning, but that has better dynamics. You can see the system is actually starting to enhance a little bit. This will be right over us late Friday into Saturday, or Friday into Saturday. That'll give a better opportunity for maybe a 1/4 inch to 1/3 of an inch for something about Santa Rosa North is the way it's looking. Drizzle, light rain this morning, and then rain mainly north tomorrow, Friday into Saturday. There's a much deeper, stronger system on the way for early next week. Some decent amounts being advertised here, especially San Rafael and Napa North, Santa Rosa. They get a 1/4 inch. That's easily a 1/3 plus in the Russian River, and points north could have maybe 4/10 of an inch. Far less amounts to the east and south until next week, when it looks like everyone will get in on a really good cold rain for October, and mountain snow looks likely here, maybe a lot of mountain snow. For the Friday, Saturday time frame, though, the remains of Hurricane Priscilla were going to parts of Southern California, but it's really taking aim more towards southeastern Arizona. Tucson could have absolutely a tremendous amount of rain, 3, 4, 5 inches possible of rain. That on the desert, that's going to cause problems. So that'll go into New Mexico as well. It's a cool change for us. Low clouds, drizzle, light rain north, fog, clear east, south. There are definitely some breaks there. Not for all, but for some. 60s, 70s on the temps. The weekend actually looks okay. Not really warm, but it looks okay. Big changes start Monday into Tuesday.
All right, Steve, thank you. Time now 7:41. As we've been telling you, the city of Oakland is again starting a search for a new police chief after the current police chief, Floyd Mitchell, announced he'll be leaving in December.
He has yet to give a reason for his resignation, but now we're turning to you to get your thoughts on the job. We're asking, do you think anyone can be successful as Oakland's police chief? Many have described the job as impossible. 2/3 of you appear to agree, saying no, the job is impossible. Now 70%, 30% say yes, why not? You can head to ktv.com/vote to have your say, as Oakland is once again looking for a new top cop at OPD.
That is a good question. And as we go to break, we'll take another look at that poll. You can scan the QR code. It's in the top right-hand corner of your screen. It'll take you to our poll.
7:45, back to the big news here on the world stage as Israeli leaders are voting to approve the first phase of a ceasefire plan in Gaza. It will allow for the release of all hostages held by Hamas in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. Also calls for more humanitarian aid and the withdrawal of Israeli troops. Let's look ahead by welcoming back Anel Shilin, research fellow at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Thanks again for being with us.
Thank you.
The 72-hour period for releasing hostages is to begin once the ceasefire is in effect. What happens during that time period and next?
We're going to start to see the release of Israeli captives as well as Palestinian captives. But the most important thing, I think, to focus on here is the fact that we have seen this before. In January, Trump pressured Netanyahu to accept a ceasefire, but it did not go beyond that initial phase. And already you have Netanyahu and other Israeli commentators saying they do not intend to maintain this ceasefire beyond just whatever is necessary to get the hostages back. So if Trump wants this to last, if he wants a Nobel Peace Prize to come out of this, he needs to maintain the pressure on Netanyahu for this to be an actual ceasefire and not merely yet another exchange of hostages.
I'm sensing some hesitancy into really believing that this will go through as it's written out.
Yes, I think unfortunately, while it is significant that we once again got this far, and I do think that reflects two issues. I think it reflects the fact that a majority of Americans no longer support unconditional military assistance to Israel, including a majority of American Jews describe what Israel is doing as war crimes. So Trump knows this is no longer popular. It is very hard to spin this unconditional support for Israel as in any way reflecting an America first foreign policy. And then the other factor is the fact that Israel hit Qatar, which is a major non-NATO U.S. ally. And that was really going beyond the pale. This is undermining American interests in the Middle East. I think that is why we saw Trump finally increase this pressure that got Netanyahu to agree. Because Hamas has been willing to release the hostages since almost immediately after October 7th. They wanted to release the hostages in exchange for a ceasefire, and Israel has not wanted to accept that.
Phase 2 will focus on the future of Gaza's governance and Hamas's disarmament. What happens in that Phase 2?
So as it's been laid out in the Trump deal, that includes things like setting up a governance structure for Gaza that at this point has no Palestinian representation. And just keep in mind that Palestinians were not involved in any way in drafting this plan. And furthermore, although Trump likes to talk about the fact that he got 9 Arab and Muslim majority countries to sign off on the deal, the version that they saw is different than the one that Trump and Netanyahu announced. And that Hamas has now agreed to under pressure from countries like Qatar and Egypt. So it is not at all clear to me the addition after this initial phase, the subsequent phases are extremely vague and do not set up a means of a long-term resolution of the conflict, which is going to persist as long as Israel maintains its occupation of Palestine. They're going to face resistance, whether it's from Hamas, some other group, some future iteration of resistance. People are going to resist when they are occupied and oppressed and their human rights are denied.
President Trump says he's eager to fly to the Middle East to preside over that ceasefire and to welcome hostages home. What do you make of his involvement in what we've seen happen over the past 2 years? Well, really, actually, just since January when he was sworn in.
Well, as I was saying, he pushed for a ceasefire in January, and he was willing to apply pressure then. Our understanding is that he actually told Netanyahu that American weapons were on the table, and that if Netanyahu did not agree to that ceasefire in time for his inauguration, he was going to consider withholding American weapons, which is something that for Israel, this would have meant Netanyahu prides himself on maintaining a very close relationship with the United States. And so that was a very clear signal. But then Trump gave up the pressure and allowed Israel to break the ceasefire, then to cut off all aid starting on March 2nd. Then the murderous Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was allowed to operate, which was clearly much more of a PR stunt to try to pretend that they were getting aid in, when really that just resulted in the deaths of thousands of Palestinians desperately seeking aid. So clearly the pressure is on now, as I was saying, because of falling support among Americans, including American Jews and including conservatives, which is new, and the fact that Israel struck Qatar, which is just a completely different ballgame. Trump is very close with the Gulf monarchs. The fact that Israel was willing to strike such a close U.S. partner really threw into question how in any way could this be seen as in American interest to have Israel attacking American partners in the Middle East.
All right. Unfortunately, that's the time we have for this look at this developing news here. We'll have to leave it here. Anel Shiline, a research fellow at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Time is now 7:51. Here's some of the top stories we're following this morning. San Francisco police are investigating a possible murder-suicide. Sources are telling KTVU the bodies of 4 family members were found in a home near City College. The police were called to that house yesterday afternoon for a medical welfare check. Neighbors say a couple lived there and they had 2 young children. The campaign to recall Contra Costa County District Attorney Dinah Becton is over. County election officials told the Chronicle the recall campaign did not submit signatures or a revised petition by last month's deadline. Campaign volunteers say the group is still meeting and they're planning strategy, but for now, there are no active recall efforts. The recall campaign accused Becton of not getting justice for crime victims, while Becton said the recall was an effort to undermine voters. And Governor Gavin Newsom signed a new law to ease environmental restrictions on Highway 37 to speed up the traffic and the flood reduction project. Construction's due to begin next year. The 3-phase project will widen Highway 37 to 2 lanes in each direction and also fortify part of the San Pablo Baylands between Sears Point and Mare Island. But critics say the money could be wasted because that stretch of road is expected to flood regularly by the year 2050 because of rising sea levels.
It is 7:52. We do have the San Mateo Bridge to talk about. It has not been a good commute. We had a crash that they're still clearing in San Mateo, which is not technically on the bridge, but it's just after the bridge. It's 92 at 101. A couple of lanes were taken up, and traffic is backed up all the way back to Hayward to 880. That's a long delay. If you take the San Mateo Bridge, that's what you're dealing with. People have started using the Dumbarton Bridge. I'd probably still use that because there are no lanes blocked, but the Dumbarton Bridge is more crowded. The Bay Bridge, in case maybe you want to go that way, I'm not sure you would like to do that because that is backed up before the maze as well, kind of a long delay. So even though there are no crashes here, it is not a great commute. And one more thing here, if you look at the South Bay, you can see all the freeways are slow heading west from east to west in the valley, all the way up to Sunnyvale or Cupertino. Almost every freeway is very slow. 7:53. Let's go back to the desk.
All right, Sal. Well, California has a new law that will have a big impact on schools statewide. The meals that will be disappearing from your kids' lunch menu. And the FBI is on a new mission. Next at 8 o'clock, why thousands of agents no longer are tracking spies. And the new targets at the top of their list. Welcome back to Mornings on 2. It's now 7:56. The state of California wants to make school lunches healthier. Governor Newsom signed a bill to limit the amount of ultra-processed foods in school lunches. Now, it will ban food and beverages that have certain food dyes or large amounts of saturated fat, sodium, or sugar. And that includes foods like Flamin' Hot Cheetos and M&Ms. The dyes that are used in the foods have been linked to developmental and behavioral problems in children. Students and parents in San Jose say the options for school lunch are not easy.
What kind of stuff are you seeing in your school lunches now?
A lot of the days, like every day, there's pizza, and then there's also going to be some other thing. Sometimes the other thing isn't really that good.
Everything is set up for us not to, to be convenient and fast, and that doesn't always mean healthy. So the easier the systems can make it so that we have healthier choices, the better.
Now, a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association showed that about 67% of the diet of American children is made up of ultra-processed foods. Well, injuries for the 49ers continue to be a big concern heading into Week 6 and a road trip game in Tampa Bay. Now, quarterback Brock Purdy and wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, they're not expected to play on Sunday. Pearsall has a knee injury. Brock Purdy still sidelined with that turf toe injury, but the 49ers say they haven't given any thought to placing him on the injured reserve list. Despite those injuries, the 49ers go into Week 6 with just one loss on their record, and head coach Kyle Shanahan says it's a testament to the team's character.
We had the right guys, and they haven't worried about really anything except being as good as they can be in practice and that carrying over to games. And I think that's how it's been in these 5 games. Just as easily, you can lose all 5 and be 0-5, and we found a way to be 4-1.
The wide receiver Jerron Jennings also has not practiced this week. He's still recovering from ankle and rib injury. However, safety Malik Mustafa returned after working his way back from an ACL tear. The kickoff for the 49ers and the Buccaneers is Sunday afternoon at 1:25.
Coming up, a San Francisco neighborhood on edge following a disturbing discovery. We're going to take you live to the scene with what investigators are saying about the remains found inside a home. And cybercrime and counterintelligence taking a backseat to shift in missions for hundreds of FBI agents now working on immigration cases.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning, Bay Area. We've got some blue sky out there and what looks like a very nice day. It was actually pretty warm and a little muggy this morning, and but things are going to change down the road. Good to have you with us on this Thursday. I'm Frank Malachert.
Good morning. I'm Gassia Mikaelian. It's Thursday, October 9th. The sunshine is back along the Oakland Alameda Estuary. Steve Paulson, this time yesterday, it was nothing but gray.
That is true. I mean, there are about 4 different forecasts this morning in the Bay Area. Seriously. I mean, there's 40s down in the Santa Clara Valley. Gilroy's 44 degrees, Morgan Hill's 48. We've had a fine line in Marin County up to about Sonoma, Mount Veeder. The line there, it looks like it's falling apart. But Pengrove had no rain at all, so that's the fine line there. It's light rain, drizzle. Looks like it's about done. There are some areas that have the low clouds. Other areas are clear and cool. Others are a mix of some sun and clouds. But we just have low clouds over us. But that system offshore, that's the one that's going to swing in. That'll be on Friday into early Saturday. Deep systems and an even deeper, stronger, colder one is on track for next Tuesday morning. I mean, that looks really impressive. Next system coming in tomorrow, though, could leave some decent amounts, especially north. Wouldn't surprise me. Santa Rosa north, quarter to maybe a half inch, far less to the south. It's a cool change, low cloud, drizzle, or light rain, but there's just a fine line there. Otherwise, some breaks in the clouds, but it'll be breezy. It'll be on the cool side, 60s and 70s. All right, Sal's here. It's 8 o'clock. San Mateo Bridge better?
It's a little better. We had a crash in San Mateo that was not on the bridge, Steve, but it caused a bunch of slow traffic. It's similar to what happens when there's a crash in San Francisco that is not on the Bay Bridge but causes slow traffic. That's exactly what happened this time on westbound 92 101. Right in San Mateo, there was a crash at the interchange, and it was there for a while. 2 lanes were blocked. Things are finally beginning to unwind. I don't want you to be surprised by this commute. And more importantly, if you drive on the Dumbarton Bridge, you might see more people there this morning or on the Bay Bridge. So that's what happens. Even if you're not going to the San Mateo Bridge, the other bridges are more crowded as a result. 8:01, let's go back to the desk.
People living in one San Francisco neighborhood are reeling on the news that 4 members of one family are dead in what sources are telling KTVU is a possible murder-suicide.
Let's go out live to KTVU's Aaron Dickens in San Francisco with more details. Aaron?
Hi, Frank. One of the big questions is who lived inside this home. Neighbors tell us it was a couple and their kids, but police have not confirmed that. I want to show you some video right now. This is a neighbor actually dropping off some flowers from earlier today at their doorstep. So you can see neighbors are very concerned. They're heartbroken of what happened. We're on Monterey Boulevard right near City College. Now, authorities say 4 bodies were found in the home. Sources tell us the incident is being investigated as a possible murder-suicide. Police got that 911 call yesterday afternoon. This was for a welfare check. After police arrived at the scene, it turned into a suspicious death investigation. Authorities have not confirmed the ages of the family members, and it is still unclear how they died.
At this time, the evidence is pointing toward a criminal case. This appears to be a criminal action. This neighborhood rarely sees any type of activity close to this.
And this has also been tough for the firefighters. They were the first to arrive on scene.
Our fire department paramedics made entry into the building. They made a determination where they had 4 persons that are deceased. Anytime you have more than 1 person deceased, it's very challenging, it's hard. And we do have those support services available for our firefighters, for them to talk to, for them to work through this type of incident.
And we have been speaking to neighbors this morning, many who have lived here for 50 years or more, and we will bring that to you next hour. For now, I'm Aaron Dickens, KTVU, Fox 2 News. Frank, back to you.
All right, Aaron, thank you for that. After 18 months on the job, Oakland Police Chief Floyd Mitchell announced he intends to leave the department in December. The police chief's decision prompting a wide reaction across the city of Oakland about the implications for public safety at a police department that's been challenged with stability problems now for years.
We can't keep living like this. We're angry. And it's not fair to the businesses. It's not fair to the voters.
Oakland is a very complex city. It's more complex than I think people believe, and I think there's even Chief Mitchell, maybe when he came in, didn't realize how complex it was with all the different bosses, all the different needs and desires.
But you cannot put politics every single day without giving him the ability to do his work. And basically, the chief is basically being handcuffed.
The chief did not say why he's going to be leaving the department. His resignation comes as police data shows crime is actually going down in Oakland. But staffing is a big problem, with the department down hundreds of sworn officers. Police union says the turnover is another sign of dysfunction in the city, while critics say it's time for a change.
We like Chief Mitchell. He's definitely an honest person. Extremely honest. And I don't think the city of Oakland would prepare for that.
I'm not surprised that he has resigned when he did. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did. I never got the impression that he was a good fit for the city of Oakland. He didn't seem to appreciate the various dimensions of the city.
The mayor, Barbara Lee, thanked Mitchell for his dedicated service, saying she was grateful for his focus on community-centered policing. The police commission will now begin searching for a new chief.
Mitchell's departure is the latest chapter in the department's unstable history. The city will now have had 11 different police chiefs in the past 10 years. Mitchell was hired to replace LaRon Armstrong after his controversial firing in 2023 by recalled Mayor Sheng Tao. Armstrong succeeded the interim chief, Susan Manheimer, and the acting chief, Darren Allison. They both served briefly during the following after the period in which the former chief, Ann Kirkpatrick, was fired in 2020. Kirkpatrick was the city's first female chief. She later won a lawsuit for wrongful termination. We spoke with Kirkpatrick, who now serves as superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department. She was very clear in discussing her experience with OPD leadership.
Everybody screams and yells and hollers. It's probably the most dysfunctional kind of leadership there that I've ever been experienced to, and yet the police department is fabulous and the city is fabulous. What I say to everybody is that anticipate being fired, and don't go unless you can afford to be fired.
OPD remains under federal oversight. That's been the case for more than 20 years due to past abuse cases. Some say the instability, including at the position of police chief, has prevented the department from exiting federal oversight. The FBI is reportedly pulling a large number of its federal agents off of cases and reassigning them to immigration enforcement duty. The Washington Post reports nearly a quarter of FBI agents have been reassigned to immigration cases. In the FBI's largest field offices, the number climbs to 40%. The agency is pulling people from cybercrime, drug trafficking, terrorism, and counterintelligence cases. The FBI director, Kash Patel, says under his leadership, the agency made more counterintelligence and drug-related arrests than during the same period last year.
Time now is 8:07, a big breakthrough in the war between Israel and Hamas. President Donald Trump says the two sides have agreed to the first phase of his ceasefire plan. The deal calls for the release of all Israeli hostages in exchange for Palestinians jailed in Israel. That must happen within the first 72 hours of the deal. It also calls for the restoration of humanitarian aid and the withdrawal of Israeli troops. Later phases of negotiations will involve discussing who will rule post-war Gaza and establishing a process to disarm Hamas.
I think you're going to see people getting along, and you'll see Gaza being rebuilt. We think they'll all be coming back on Monday. I spoke to Bibi Netanyahu just a little while ago. He called. He said, "I can't believe it."
That agreement has not stopped Israeli military activity in Gaza just yet. Live camera feed from Reuters this morning showed explosions and smoke rising from Gaza City. Israel's prime minister is expected to officially sign on the agreement today, putting the ceasefire in effect.
The families of the hostages held in Gaza thanked the president for reaching the agreement.
President Trump, you have the best crowd in the world. What do you guys have to say to President Trump? Thank you.
This week, the families were in Washington marking 2 years of war between Israel and Hamas. After President Trump announced the agreement, the group called him to thank him.
It is amazing. Mr. President, we believe in you. We know you've done so much for us over the past, since you became a president, and even before that. And we trust you'll fulfill the mission until every hostage, every 48 of the hostages are home. Thank you so much.
President Trump says Hamas has agreed to release 20 Israeli hostages by Monday.
It's 8:09 right now. We still have a lot of people on the San Mateo Bridge. As a consequence, more people are on the Bay Bridge and the Dumbarton Bridge. That happens. Not everyone can go a different way, but some people are. It's apparent. This is a look at the San Mateo Bridge. It's been up and down, and the reason is because of a crash in San Mateo, 92 at 101. It's taken them a while to clear it because it was a serious crash. At one point, it was blocking several lanes of the freeway. They've been making progress. In fact, I'm looking here at my list that CHP gives us. It looks like they may have opened all the lanes, but as I say a lot here, the damage is done. A lot of people are stuck in traffic that's not going to get better anytime soon. There again is the Bay Bridge. And we look at the Dumbarton Bridge right here at the top of your screen there. I'm going to focus in, see how slow that is. It's not usually that slow. I think a lot of people are avoiding that San Mateo Bridge. At 8:10, let's go back to the desk.
Thank you, Sal. More jobs and more public events are being cut because of the government shutdown. Why one agency just lost half of its workforce and how it could impact people who still haven't paid their taxes this year.
A top candidate for a California governor threatens to walk out of an interview. How her political opponents are seizing on the opportunity.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes: your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
A Florida man is under arrest for starting the Palisades fire at the beginning of the year in Los Angeles County. Jonathan Rinderknecht is due back in court this hour, facing federal charges of setting that fire New Year's Day. Firefighters put the fire out, but it smoldered underground for 6 days, then reignited, becoming the Palisades fire that killed 12 people and burned thousands of homes.
Just a short time ago, the Nobel Prize Committee announced this year's recipient for the award in literature, and it's going to 71-year-old Laszlo Krasznahorkai. He is a writer from Hungary, credited for being both compelling and a visionary. Several of his works have been turned into movies. A member of the Nobel Award Committee says his writing is often shatteringly beautiful.
California gubernatorial candidate Katie Porter is under heavy criticism after a recent interview that by many accounts went off the rails. The former Orange County Congresswoman threatened to walk out when CBS reporter Julie Watts asked her about appealing to voters who'd voted for President Trump. Porter said she wouldn't need the support of the 40% of Californians who voted for the president to win, and tried to end the interview.
No matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you're elected to governor, you represent the entire population of the state. You don't represent your party, and you need to be working for the good of the entire state and the entire population.
Have very little on the policy issues that separate them. So now a candidate's made a mistake, and the candidate that made the mistake is the front runner, and it allows every other candidate to sort of point and say, look, you know, dumpster fire over there.
To win. Video of the contentious interview went viral. Other gubernatorial candidates calling for her to drop out of the race. Antonio Villaraigosa is running an ad with a clip of that interview. As the government shutdown enters its 9th day now, the IRS announces it's furloughing more than 34,000 employees, nearly half the agency's workforce. This comes just days before the tax filing deadline for people who filed extensions. The IRS says document processing and refunds will be slower. On Capitol Hill, the Senate failed to pass a measure to fund the government for the 6th time yesterday. Federal workers say they're growing increasingly frustrated.
Been held hostage. We've been treated as political punching bags. We've been the ones who have been forced to bear the brunt of a lot of these things.
Missing one paycheck, I'm prepared for that. My hope is that this is a temporary fight.
The first paychecks to be issued without a full 2 weeks of pay could go out tomorrow. Then October 15th, active duty military and reserves may miss their first full paycheck. Staffing shortages have caused the FAA to delay flights into Washington, D.C.'s Reagan National Airport. The agency says there aren't enough air traffic controllers and TSA agents, many of whom are being asked to work without pay. Workers in those jobs are considered essential. That means they have to show up, even if they're not getting paid. Many have elected to call out sick instead, leading to staffing gaps that have rippled through the system. Similar shortages are being reported at airports in Burbank, Chicago, Houston, and Las Vegas.
The Navy is making it official. The Blue Angels will not fly for Fleet Week, and there will be no parade of naval ships on the San Francisco Bay. Instead, only sailors from Canada and Colombia will be visiting, and the Royal Canadian Air Force are sending the Snowbirds to fly in place of the Blue Angels over the weekend. While events will look different this year, the mayor, Daniel Lurie, says the spirit of Fleet Week remains strong.
I don't care about whether or not we have a government shutdown or not. I want us to honor our armed forces and our pilots. Let's support our businesses, and let's go San Francisco. Thank you.
Fleet Week will also serve as a celebration of the U.S. Navy's 250th anniversary.
All right, I want to update you on that San Mateo Bridge situation we've been talking about. The bridge itself is getting better. The crash we had, which was 92 at 101, had been there for a very long time. It was right there. That's gone, but it's going to take a while for all that slow traffic to unwind. As a consequence, 84, the Dumbarton Bridge has also been slow. We've had a couple of crashes once you get off the Dumbarton Bridge, so it has not been a good day for the midday crossings at all. If you're driving in San Jose, all those commutes are slow. That's more along the lines of what you normally would expect on a commute like that. Let's talk about the Bay Bridge, because a lot of people, they look to see if there's any improvement at the Bay Bridge. I would say no, not yet anyway. It's still backed up beyond the MacArthur Maze. 8:19. Let's bring Steve in with today's weather.
Sal, thank you. Multiple forecasts here this morning. A lot of 40s in the Santa Clara Valley, Morgan Hill down to Gilroy, 48 to 44. Some areas are clear, sunny. Others have had low clouds, and there's a fine line that's been drizzle, light rain. To the left of it, nothing. To the right of it, nothing. But over it, about Sonoma, up towards almost Yountville, and then back into Marin County. There's been some, it looks like it's letting up a little bit, but Mount Tamalpais has had, I think, 15 100s. I know Middle Peak, around there, Tamalpais and Woodacre, both around 10th to a 12. About 0.03 around Novato, and then other locations, absolutely nothing. So there's just been that line moving through. Yet you go to the infrared satellite, and there's nothing there. Why? Because it's all low level. So it's one little band that what we call trained, but on either side of it, not a drop. 50s on the temps, 60s, and we have plenty of cloud cover on the way, but not for later, not until later. 30s, 40s up in the mountains. Impressive low churning already. What is it? November, December already here? You don't usually see this. We can occasionally in October, but an even deeper, stronger one is on the way for early next week. It's a lot of cold air up there. First, usually, you can't get that into, September, early September usually, but you can get it in mid-October. And that system swinging by, that'll roll in tomorrow, and that'll give a better opportunity for rain, especially North Bay, Marin County, San Pablo Bay North. For today, some drizzle, light rain, but that's really just a fine line up there. Otherwise, that's a mix of low clouds and sun and a little breeze. But for tomorrow, we will see some activity picking up more so rainfall-wise. So you go north, far less to the south. I'm sure there'll be drizzle south. But next week is starting to look good statewide, not only for rain, but mountain snow. Look at that, Sacramento. That'd be a lot of rain, an inch of rain almost across the board here, plus. And there's going to be some big-time amounts here, especially into Arizona. Just forecast models are trying to paint Tucson, really, with a lot of rain from the remains of that hurricane. A cool change, though, for some 40s, 50s, 60s on the lows, low clouds, some drizzle, light rain north. But again, there's not everybody's in on that. Mix of sun and clouds, breezy to windy, 60s, 70s. Your weekend looks okay. A little chilly in the morning, that's for sure, but it will be dry. Monday night, Tuesday looks like a big system for us.
Steve, thank you. A power play in the mineral wars, the new leverage for China as President Xi readies for trade talks with President Trump, and why Beijing's rare earth minerals are key for the United States. China's putting new limits on the export of rare earth minerals needed for computer chips and defense technology. The new policy comes just weeks before President Trump is set to meet with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. China dominates global mining and processing of rare earths, which are a group of metals used in laptops, fighter jets, and medical equipment. Today, two NFL wives are launching a new show on YouTube, giving fans a look inside their lives and the San Francisco 49ers season. First episode of Wifed Up, Mic'd Up debuts later today, featuring Claire Kittle and Kristen Juszczyk, wives of tight end George Kittle and fullback Kyle Juszczyk. The two will share what it's like to travel with the team and give an inside look at their tailgates and other parts of life with a spouse in the NFL.
And hockey is back tonight. San Jose Sharks hosting their season home opener at the Tank. They're facing the Vegas Golden Knights at 7 o'clock. Sharks don't have one main captain this year, but 5 alternate captains, including their young superstar, Macklin Celebrini. Before the game, Ticketmaster is hosting a pregame festival. That'll kick off at 4 o'clock on Barack Obama Boulevard outside the Tank. It will have food, entertainment, and a ceremony to unveil the renaming of St. John Street to Sharks Way. How about the Warriors? They're making preseason basketball worth watching. Last night, the team pulled off a 21-point come-from-behind winner in the second half to beat Portland. Starters didn't spend a lot of time on the court, so it was backup center Quentin Post who led the way at 20 points. A nice three right there. Post scored 13 of those points during the fourth quarter comeback for the Dubs. Warriors went on to win at 129-123. Tonight, the Warriors are opening their practice. It's called an open practice, and for $5 at Chase Center, you can go in and watch. It all goes to charity. Their next preseason game is against the Lakers in L.A. over the weekend.
Oakland once again looking for a new police chief after the current head of OPD says he is leaving with less than 2 years of service and more than a year to go on his contract. What's next for the police department and Oaklanders? And the one big question still unanswered.
And a detention dilemma connected to migrant children heating up. The safeguards that could be erased for young detainees when we come back.
My parents, they decided that they wanted to give me and my sisters a better life, so they came here.
Immigration agents detain a Vallejo man who entered the country illegally decades ago and, according to his family, has lived a lawful, productive life since then. What his daughter says about her father and the two things immigrants' rights advocates say others in a similar situation should do. Then major news here on what could be a big step forward toward peace in the Middle East. Israel and Hamas agree on first steps toward ending the war in Gaza. What's expected this weekend and the questions that remain about Gaza's future.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Garcia Micaelian.
And hi, everyone. I'm Frank Malikout. Thursday, October the 9th. Let's get you outside, talk a little weather on what looks like a pretty good day. Steve, good morning.
Well, it depends on where you are, Frank. You sure you want to get into this business?
Welcome to the Bay Area.
You want to get into this business? All right. There's been a line from about Marin County up to Sonoma, just north. If you're on the left side or right side of that line, dry, nothing. Cloud cover, yes. But this line, that's it. That's it. You go east, it's clear. You go south, it's mostly clear. So that's what we're dealing with today. The better system is on the way for tomorrow. You can see it swinging in off the coast right there. But we have a lot of low-level moisture here and tropical moisture is beginning to move in. That's really going to paint Arizona and New Mexico with a lot of rain, but even Southern California is getting in on a little, as will Las Vegas. But that's the system we're looking for tomorrow. We'll get a break on the weekend, and then what looks like a real powerhouse system for October is on the way Monday night into Tuesday, early Wednesday. Tomorrow's system doesn't have a lot of punch, but about Santa Rosa North could be pretty good. South of that probably won't be too much. So it's a cool change, that's for sure, but a mix of sun, clouds, drizzle, light rain, clear, breezy, take your pick. 60s and 70s on the temps. Sal is here. It's 8:31. Sal, you there?
I am here.
Take it away, my friend.
All right, here we go. Wow, look at the Bay Bridge. It's still backed up, and you can see it is backed up all the way out to the Maze. Not really sure when it's going to get better. I think we had more pressure on this bridge because of what happened on the San Mateo Bridge. San Mateo Bridge is getting better, but it was bad for the first few hours of the commute because of an earlier crash. So that's what's happening. We've also had some slow traffic in the South Bay. That's not unusual for it to be slow on all the South Bay commutes at this time of the morning. On the peninsula, we are moderate. 8:32, let's get back to the headlines.
Sal, thank you. The city of Oakland will have to start searching for a new police chief again now that the current chief, Floyd Mitchell, has announced he is leaving the department in early December. Our Ali Rasmus live here with reaction, Ali, from the city as well as members of the Oakland community.
Well, the city of Oakland has had 11 chiefs or interim chiefs in the last 12 years. And the reaction from people we've been hearing from, community leaders and even some people here at Lake Merritt, seems to be one of resignation. Maybe they're surprised, but not that surprised. And just frustration. Oakland Police Chief Floyd Mitchell announced he is going to resign effective December 5th. And he didn't give a specific reason he is stepping down, but said in an email to OPD staff yesterday, quote, "Deciding to resign was not an easy decision, nor was it made in haste. Even as I penned this email to each of you, I'm filled with a complex mix of emotions, gratitude, pride, and above all, a deep appreciation for the work you all do." Mitchell started the job in May of 2024, appointed by the previous mayor, Sheng Tao, just a few months before she was recalled. His resignation comes as police data shows crime in Oakland is down compared to last year, but the department is dealing with the ongoing challenges of a reduced police force, cuts in the city's budget, and OPD has been under federal oversight for more than 20 years. One of the previous OPD chiefs, Ann Kirkpatrick, who was fired back in 2017, spoke candidly to KTVU about the demands of the Oakland police chief's role.
And everybody screams and yells and hollers. It's probably the most dysfunctional kind of leadership there that I've ever been experienced to, and yet the police department is fabulous and the city is fabulous. What I say to everybody is that anticipate being fired, and don't go unless you can afford to be fired.
To see Chief Mitchell exit at this time, it's saying that he wants to get out before something happens to him.
Because consistency shows that you're invested, that you're there. It's how you're able to build trust from the community. And so what we're really hoping for is that this doesn't happen again.
Now, under the Oakland City Charter, the police chief has to answer to at least 4 different authorities: the mayor, the city manager, the federal monitor, and the Oakland Citizens Police Commission. Now, the process selecting a new permanent chief in Oakland is also complicated and can't happen overnight. The Oakland Police Commission is in charge of identifying and interviewing, going through the field of candidates across the nation to narrow it down to 3 possible candidates. They then have to turn that list over to the Oakland mayor, who has to select one of those 3 candidates or tell the commission to start all over and find some new candidates. So the last time the city of Oakland went through this process, it took more than a year to find a permanent police chief. Live in Oakland, Ali Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Ali, thank you. On this news, we're turning to you and asking, do you think anyone can be successful as Oakland police chief? 3/4 of you say no, the job's impossible. We heard a number of former chiefs sort of refer to it that way. About 1/4 say yes, why not? Hoping for the very, very best for Oakland here, as it is now entering yet another search for a new head of OPD. You can weigh in, scan the QR code at the top right of your screen, or head to ktvu.com/vote to make those numbers change.
ICE is under fire for a new initiative targeting unaccompanied immigrant children. The program immigrant advocates are calling Freaky Friday allegedly pressures minors in federal shelters to drop asylum claims and accept cash to return to their home countries. At the same time, court fights are mounting over plans to transfer teens into adult detention once they turn 18, raising fresh concerns about coercion and due process in the immigration system. Now, ICE officials responded to the claims saying these allegations are categorically false. The anti-ICE activists have made up the term Freaky Friday to instill fear and spread misinformation that drives the increased violence occurring against federal law enforcement. Let's welcome in Michelle LaPointe now, American Immigration Council Legal Director, for some insight. Good morning, Counselor. Great to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So fill us in late last night and early this morning on the temporary restraining order that was approved by a judge this morning. And if you could shed a little more light on the so-called Freaky Friday program that now is apparently on hold.
Yes, so actually the temporary restraining order was entered by a federal judge in D.C. on Saturday morning. And this related to a case, a long-running case that required ICE, before it went and detained children who turned 18, it required ICE to look at less restrictive alternatives, not putting kids into adult ICE jails, and instead seeing could they be safely released to sponsors. And a judge more than 4 years ago said that is what ICE had to do. And we got word late last week that as part of this wide-ranging strategy to target unaccompanied immigrant children, decided it was just going to ignore that court order and start detaining unaccompanied immigrant children on their 18th birthday. They were in the process of doing that on Friday and Saturday of last week, so we had to go back to court and get this temporary restraining order to prevent them from continuing that policy.
So had ICE already started rounding up young detainees? And if so, what is their status now with this restraining order?
It had. It was only a few individual young people who were turning 18 on Friday and Saturday in different parts of the country. And they were going from what's called an ORR shelter, the Office of Refugee Resettlement, which has authority over immigrant children who come here unaccompanied. And these children had plans for their release on their 18th birthday. They had safe places to go. They had sponsors in this country who were willing to receive them. And ICE decided instead to just basically tear up those decisions and go back to this plan of putting them in adult detention centers. Luckily, there were children who were in the process of being taken by ICE. They were actually some taken from the shelters on their way to immigrant detention centers, adult detention centers. And because of the court's order, we were able to reverse that and get these children out to the sponsors and the placements that they had already established were safe for them.
So if the government appeals, what arguments might they raise and how defensible are they?
Yeah, so we will be continuing to brief this issue. We have a schedule in that federal court in DC, and we'll be wrapping up briefing by Thanksgiving. But we think that the government's argument here is just indefensible. It's based on a change in policy that came in July in the adult detention context, which is basically the government is now saying anyone who entered the country without inspection is ineligible to be released on bond. And federal courts across the country have been almost uniformly rejecting that argument vigorously, saying it's a wrong interpretation of the law. And of course, applying that to the context of what are called age outs, these children who turn 18 while in government ORR custody, we think is a violation of this permanent injunction in the case that we are enforcing.
Well, a lot to unpack, but we so appreciate the insight. Michelle LaPointe, American Immigration Council Legal Director, thank you so much for your time and your insight.
Thanks for having me.
8:39 here, new this morning. Uncertainty for a Vallejo family after a father was arrested by immigration agents while returning home from a job site in Bay Point. Anahi Aguiniga says her dad, Victor Aguiniga Gomez, drove to Bay Point Saturday to see a potential client. Before going in the house, she says he noticed what he thought was a suspicious car outside. When he was driving home, she says he was pulled over by someone in an unmarked vehicle.
I just remember my dad saying they ID'd him And then I guess they just took him into custody. Because, I mean, my dad didn't really ask any questions, you know, he's scared.
Aguiniga says while her father is undocumented, he has no criminal record. In a statement, an ICE spokesperson said he entered the country illegally 20 years ago and was arrested during a targeted enforcement action in Bay Point and will remain in ICE custody. His daughter says after being held in a San Francisco immigration center, he's been transferred now to Bakersfield.
My dad or people like my dad are not criminals. They're really just good people trying to come here and make, you know, live the American dream, have a better life. And I don't think that they should be punished for that.
While Aguiniga waits to learn what's next for her father, immigrant rights advocates are continuing their work and telling people what to do when encountering federal agents.
The most important part is to remain silent. We have red cards that many of our community members throughout the Bay Area can use if there's a language issue and they may not speak this English. They can actually hold up their Know Your Rights card so that they don't have to immediately divulge information that could possibly lead to an arrest or even deportation.
Immigrants' rights groups urge those who need help to call them. The Bay Area has several hotlines covering Alameda, Marin, San Francisco, and Santa Clara counties. Coming up, the COVID-19 pandemic caused many colleges to get rid of SAT and ACT requirements for admission. In a minute, we talk with an entrance exam and admissions expert about what students should do to help boost their chance of getting into their dream school.
Back now at 8:45, a breakthrough in the war between Israel and Hamas. President Trump says the two sides have agreed to the first phase of a ceasefire plan. KTVU's James Torres joins us live with more details. James?
Frank, Israeli leadership is meeting as we speak to vote on the agreement. President Trump announcing the deal yesterday. And this is just the first phase of the deal, focusing on the swift exchange of hostages for prisoners. It calls for the immediate release of all Israeli hostages in exchange for Palestinians jailed in Israel. That must happen within the first 72 hours after the deal is approved. It also calls for the restoration of humanitarian aid and the withdrawal of Israeli troops. Later phases of negotiations will involve discussing who will rule post-war Gaza and establishing a process to disarm Hamas.
I think you're going to see people getting along, and you'll see Gaza being rebuilt. We think they'll all be coming back on Monday. I spoke to Bibi Netanyahu just a little while ago. He called. He said, "I can't believe it."
The families of hostages held in Gaza thanked President Trump for securing the agreement. Those families were in Washington, D.C. this week, marking 2 years of war between Israel and Hamas.
This is amazing. Mr. President, we believe in you. We know you've done so much for us over the past, since you became a president, and even before that. And we trust you'll fulfill the mission until every hostage, every 48 of the hostages are home. Thank you so much.
The president says Hamas will release 20 Israeli hostages by Monday. It will also return the bodies of nearly 30 deceased hostages. Israel's prime minister is expected to officially sign off on the agreement sometime today. A ceasefire will then take effect for 24 hours. And just a short time ago, U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, met with Egypt's president after brokering that Gaza ceasefire deal. Gaza.
James Torres, thank you. As we wait on the Israeli government's final vote, there are many concerns over whether the ceasefire will hold.
The most important thing, I think, to focus on here is the fact that we have seen this before. In January, Trump pressured Netanyahu to accept a ceasefire, but it did not go beyond that initial phase. And already you have Netanyahu and other Israeli commentators saying they do not intend to maintain this ceasefire beyond just whatever is necessary to get the hostages back. So if Trump wants this to last, if he wants a Nobel Peace Prize to come out of this, he needs to maintain the pressure on Netanyahu for this to be an actual ceasefire and not merely yet another exchange of hostages.
Several top Israeli officials have voiced opposition to the agreement. The government is still expected to have the votes to approve it. 8:48, high school students are knee-deep in college admissions test prep. While most juniors will take the PSATs, a new enhanced ACT has some rethinking what test optional means on their applications. We welcome Jim Wismer, the Director of Community Relations with the National Test Prep Association, to the conversation I know is being had at many kitchen tables here in the Bay Area and beyond.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, the new enhanced ACT has a new format, different question types. A lot of people say it kind of looks and feels more like the SAT. What should we know about the enhanced ACT?
Sure. So there are 3 big changes to the test. One is that students can test digitally like the SAT or on paper, and that's different. The ACT maintaining the paper option that the SAT did away with. The other is that the previous science section of the ACT is now optional, but some colleges are still requiring it, so we encourage students to take it regardless. The final change is that there are fewer questions overall on the ACT, and students get more time per question, which is a very student-friendly change to the test.
If you take it and don't think your score reflects who you are as a student, do you have to share it? Like, is it already out there, or can you just choose not to tell?
So students have control over their test scores, and that's true whether a college requires them or not. They get to choose where they send them and which test scores they share with universities.
Okay. Let's look back a little bit here. ACT scores fell to a 30-year low among U.S. students back in 2023. The goal of these changes is to improve the numbers, better prepare students for the future. Is the enhanced ACT an accurate reflection of a student's ability?
Yeah, great question. So the content of the ACT is, 90+% the same as the previous version. It tests fundamental skills in math, reading, writing, and science literacy. So I would say overall, the fact that ACT scores are declining, that's a reflection of, realities we saw coming out of the COVID pandemic. We've seen this on nationwide testing, statewide testing, that students are scoring lower in areas like reading and math relative to how they were before the pandemic. The new version of the test, there's no reason to believe it isn't the accurate reflection of reality that the previous one was.
The UC system says it's test blind. Other systems say they're test optional. What does all this mean, and how can we as parents and they as children sort of navigate the system to their best advantage?
Sure. So I think the important thing to keep in mind when talking about test optional is that 84% of American high school students have at least an A- average. So standardized testing is a really valuable way for universities to see, which students are excelling when the grades show that most students are excelling, even when nationwide testing doesn't show the same thing. Now, University of California in particular, they call themselves test blind because they don't use the SAT or ACT. That's a bit of a misnomer because they actually use AP and IB exam scores, and these can be even more important at the more competitive campuses like Berkeley or UCLA. Standardized testing remains a really valuable way for students to distinguish themselves. When a college is test optional, the strongest application is still going to consider or include a test score that university would consider strong. What that benchmark is can vary quite a bit from one college to the next, though.
Jim, can I ask you, how long have you been doing this work?
Sure, just over a decade, actually.
Okay. Prove me right here. It just feels like this race to get into college, the best colleges, is completely different than what we went through all those years ago.
Absolutely. So the data on grade inflation has been steadily rising. Students are getting stronger and stronger grades than they ever have. And the acceptance rates at the top universities are going down lower and lower every year. Part of this is a good thing, right? Because more of our country is capable of going to college than ever before. So you're seeing more applicants. More applicants mean a lower acceptance rate because there aren't more top universities than there were before, right? So the competition has definitely ramped up. And so it's important for students to take every advantage they can in this process. And standardized testing can be one of those advantages.
All right, that's the time we have for this talk. Jim Wismer, the Director of Community Relations with the National Test Prep Association. Thanks for your insight this morning.
Thank you.
Well, for some it's sunny, for others mostly sunny, for others it's cloudy, and others there's been a narrow rain band. Mount Tamalpais over the last 24 hours picked up 21 100s, Woodacre 17 100s, Sonoma 0.08, Mount Veeder 0.08, Fairfax and San Anselmo 0.07. On the right side and left side of that line, nothing. It looks like it's about done. I think we're about done with it. I don't think there's much left. Could be a little bit still in Marin County, but even that looks like it's lightening up. It's a lot of cloud cover, though. You can see that. I mean, there's plenty of cloud cover as you see that coming. But then you go east, sunny, 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 partly sunny, mostly sunny. So again, it was a fine line there. It was all low-level cloudiness, called what we call trained. That line trained, yet on both sides of it there was nothing. So it was a tricky little deal there. Wind is out of the south for many here. It's in advance of this front, which will be here. 50s, 60s on the temps. Up in the mountains, 40s now. Big news will be next week for the mountains. Maybe not so much with this next system, which is right there. That'll give us some rain tomorrow. Most of it looks to be about Marin County north again, with drizzle probably south. But the system dropping in on Tuesday looks like a big system. Drizzle, light rain for only a few. Mostly it's partly cloudy to mostly cloudy to the north and mostly sunny to the south. But for the system coming in Friday into Saturday, it looks really like Santa Rosa North is the line. But we'll mention it for Marin County, San Pablo Bay North. Next Tuesday, though, Monday night, Tuesday into early Wednesday, first big system, cold dynamic system of the season, rains statewide with snow up in the mountains is what it's looking like. Colder and windy, too. Weekend will be okay, though. A cool change, low clouds, drizzle, light rain for only a few. It's either sunny or partly sunny elsewhere, 60s, 70s on the temps. Once we get past early Saturday, the rest of the weekend, all right, then big changes start Monday night, Tuesday.
All sounds great. Thank you, Steve. Forget lectures. This is climate science with a bit of a twist. When you join us on the 9, the Bay Area teens that are suiting up for a hands-on energy challenge that's turning curiosity into action. Good story coming your way. Back now at 8:56, Mill Valley revising its city code to loosen restrictions on affordable housing. A new state mandate requires that Mill Valley to build 865 housing units by 2031, and at least half of those must be affordable. To try and build those hundreds of homes, the city is now cutting back on requirements for affordable units. Now buildings with 7 units or less do not have to make any of the units affordable. Buildings with 19 units have to make 15% of them affordable, while those with over 20 units must make them 20% affordable.
A former San Jose assistant fire chief is accusing the department of unlawful termination and age discrimination. 57-year-old James Williams filed a claim against the city, a first step toward a possible lawsuit if an agreement can't be reached. He's worked in several local fire departments in his 38-year career. His lawyer told the Mercury News city leaders tried to end the career of a highly qualified and respected black fire executive just weeks before he was eligible to retire. Williams says he was called a dinosaur. San Jose's fire chief, Robert Sapien, in a brief response said this complaint came as unexpected news.
Happening today, California's U.S. Senator will introduce new federal legislation to try and stop the Trump administration's efforts to cut voter roll call down. The bill from Senator Alex Padilla and other members of Congress is called the Voter Purge Protection Act. It's all in response to the Department of Justice suing 8 states, including California, for refusing to hand over sensitive voter information and registration lists to the federal government. This act would ban the removal of people from voter rolls due to changes in residence or not voting in the past election, unless there is proof the voter has passed away.
Governor Newsom signed a new law to ease environmental restrictions on Highway 37 in the North Bay to speed up the traffic and flood reduction project. Construction is due to start next year. The 3-phase project will widen Highway 37 to 2 lanes in each direction and will also fortify part of the San Pablo Baylands between Sears Point and Mare Island. Critics, however, say the money could be wasted because that stretch of road is expected to flood regularly by the year 2050 due to rising sea levels. Another quick look outside on this beautiful, slightly cool Thursday. Those puffy clouds up above the city. Stay with us as Mornings on 2 to 9 starts here in just 60 seconds.